A very warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining this inspired global heart dance festival. We are so many bright and beautiful and brave souls on this planet now, and we're all participating in a world awakening. My name is Amber, and I've been blessed to live in Bali for the past 12 years. And I'm truly honored that you are tuning in with me. What I'm about to share I call the power of a human heart. It is not a class, and I'm not a teacher. We are all walking each other home. I'm simply going to share some surprising and inspiring life stories and the insights they gave me that brought me to greater trust, to greater peace, and to greater ease and flow in my life. Because sometimes all we need in order to expand is to see life with new eyes, a shift in perspective, and recognize how much we are loved, held, supported and guided every step of the way. The life stories that I'm going to share are very intimate. I have only shared these with a very few of my closest friends, and yet it feels right to offer them now. If we have time, I will share some tips, what it is that has supported me to find more of my inner and outer guidance. And we'll end with a friend's beautiful song written for these times, Brand New Love. To introduce myself in a couple of lines, I could say that I was brought up in 4 different countries, none of which felt like home, namely Mexico, Africa, Scotland and France. In 1986, I went to India, and between 86 and 2000, I lived largely in India and in Nepal, with a couple of years in Canary Islands. I again continued the nomadic lifestyle in Australia, and went to the South Pacific in 2005. Came to Bali in 2009, and luckily was stopped here because I was on my way to South America. And Bali doesn't have the raw power of India, and it doesn't have the vast spaciousness of the South Pacific. Yet it's also a very powerful, transformative place beneath its gentle facade. And one of the things Bali did for me was to continue dismantling my idea of self. What I thought was right for me, what I thought was meant to happen. And it replaced this with a softening that allowed me to become more aligned with what life wanted from me. Because life doesn't really care about our plans, it only cares about our evolution. And our evolution has only to do with the opening of our hearts. And sometimes it can take a lot to open our hearts. The more willing we are, I have found, to let go and to listen to the guidance, the easier it is for us. Because we can't know everything. We live in a mind-folded dimension. And yet there are other beings that are here to support and guide us. And Bali put me in contact with some of these other beings. And I was resistant at first. My Western mind wasn't really prepared to accept that. But as it entered into my daily reality more often, I could no longer deny it. I'm now going to share some important things that my mother, who passed away 2 years ago, came and told me after she had passed. And this was a new experience for me. We had quite a lot of engagement after she left. And some of it was very surprising, and it was all very novel also. She came 9 months after she left, and that was about the last time she came so clearly. And she said to me, "I can't stay long this time, but I wanted you to know this. We do not know on this planet how much we are loved." She was showing me that we see everything through our filters, we receive through our filters. So we do not see and receive and hear the love as it is given to us. And the people, of course, around us who are offering us love, they also have their limitations. And so the love that comes in is filtered from them to us. And we do not feel the extent of that. And she said that if we knew how much we were loved, what other people all do for us, how they stretch sometimes beyond their own ideas, we would feel very differently about life. She told me that had she known this, she would have done things differently in her life, she would have felt differently. And she certainly wouldn't have done the last thing she did in her life, which was to end her own life. Now, I have no judgment about that, only compassion. My mother couldn't wait to leave this planet. She'd been studying near-death experiences for 30 years and the afterlife, and she was just so keen to be on the other side. But she did have a lot of remorse afterwards. And something she told me another time was that the human heart, however painful the journey may feel at times, the human heart is the best container within which to process the emotional baggage that we have taken on to work through here. Now, I find it helpful to not identify too much with that baggage. I've seen some very traumatic past life scenes. I've been pulled into some. And I still prefer to see it like this. That when somebody leaves the planet, they have unresolved issues that they cannot take with them into the light. So they leave their suitcases at the exit and off they go. And another soul comes in, perhaps like myself, thinking, this is going to be a piece of cake. Sees all these suitcases, and they may be labeled addiction, rejection, persecution, abuse, whatever you like, suicide. And I think, yeah, I'm going to take that on and I'm going to help to transform that while I'm on this planet, because the human heart is the container within which we can transform these things. Another thing my mother told me is that we often think here on this planet, when life is asking us to expand, when the carpet feels like it's being tugged from underneath our feet, we often feel that we're going to lose ground. She said, we are only gaining ground. We are only expanding when we let go of what we know, when we allow other perspectives in. Their perspectives may have served us really well for a time, but they're only our particular perspectives from within our particular shell. And as that shell softens, as we expand, we begin to see more. I see life very much as though we are seeds. And we are seeds developing inside a case. And in the beginning, the seed is soft and the case is soft. But with time, the case hardens in order to protect that fragile seed inside, to allow it to develop to its full potential. And at that stage, the case has to soften, it has to drop away. Otherwise, we remain imprisoned within this case of our own identity, our own protection. And when the case begins to soften, This has happened to me so much in my life that I feel like I'm being broken open. When the case begins to soften, it feels like we're losing everything we are and everything we know. But that's okay, because we're only expanding and growing further. And each of us is here to develop that particular seed, to bring that particular seed to fruition. Whether we are a little daisy, a red rose bush, or a massive tree. In the natural order of things, everything has its place, and there's no comparison. Now, when I came to Bali in 2009, I was recommended to write a book. And I didn't write a book because I had the answers. I wrote a book because I had a lot of questions. And I've always been a very curious person, liking to see what's beneath, behind, and beyond the obvious. And so the questions I had while I was writing this book were, why is the intensity of life increasing? Where is it taking us? And how do we ride smoothly on the winds of change? Because even out in the quiet South Pacific, I had begun to notice around 2007 that energy was amping up. It was as if we were being asked to feel and to process and transform more than ever before, as if we were being moved into a new classroom. And the insights that came to me while I was writing, and this was a 9-month process, brought me to call the book The Power of a Human Heart, a message of trust, triumph, and transformation. When the book was written, some people said to me that parts of it were channeled. Now, at the time, I didn't really understand that, and I also felt that it would be pretentious to think even that I was channeling anything. As far as I knew, the answers were just all coming from my own higher, expanded self. And now I don't see such a difference between myself and the other higher selves there. From our side, we make a lot of separation between ourselves and other people. But in that dimension, there's more sense of unity and everybody is working together. It doesn't really matter where the messages come from. But the truth is that we all receive these messages. I didn't think that ordinary people channeled. But we are all multidimensional beings. We exist in many layers of reality, and we work on many layers of reality. And the other layers are supporting our journey, embodied, mind-folded on this planet. And the only guide we have is our human heart. And with time we learn to tune in, to soften, and to listen more to this guidance. We all receive intuition, insights, messages, premonitions, sometimes in dreams, warnings sometimes. And I found that the more we heed these messages, the easier our life becomes. I'll read to you one of my favorite quotes from the book, which I attribute to one of my guides. Because what happened is, a few years after writing the book, I was brought undeniably to recognize one of my guides. He was in front of me as clearly and as tangibly as any physical being. And he told me I was in a very broken, open place at the time. And that's why I was able to to allow him to be there, if you will. Of course, he's there anyway, but I couldn't see him. But in my softened state, without that shell around me, I was able to recognize, wow, there's more beyond my perimeters. And he told me that he had helped me to write the book. And certainly, some of the guidance inside, some of the passages were so beautiful that when I wrote them, I was myself surprised. Wow, that's really beautiful and deep. And the book became my guide because it was written from one of my guides, partly. And it supported me for the following decade. So let me read you my favorite quote from a book, because it's very relevant to me. And it's in a chapter called India, My Love. The word surrender has to us a negative connotation, but in fact it is most beautiful because it is a doorway to the beyond. Surrender is full acceptance, allowance and approval of the way things are. It is the recognition that there is absolute intelligence behind the workings of the universe. It is our devotion, our total trust, and our complete let go. In 2019, I had a very powerful and extraordinary experience, which was only hilarious in retrospect. At the time, I didn't know what was happening, and I couldn't understand the message, and I found it a bit scary because our survival part is always concerned with its survival. So when a guide started to come through me, and this was in front of some very close friends, when this started happening, and he was talking about other dimensions, I was thinking that maybe we're leaving this planet, or at least that I'm leaving this planet. And although I am at peace with that, I'm not in a hurry anymore. So I'm going to read to you some of the things this guide told me, because it is very relevant for these times. First of all, I was told that we're shifting dimensions. We're given the opportunity to shift dimensions. It's always a choice. And I was seeing 20s flashing at me. I remember being really startled and saying, coming back to myself and saying, hold on, but this is 2019, 2020 is only next year. So however much we've been preparing for something, and however much we have been prepared, perhaps our whole lives, for what's happening, we sometimes don't really feel ready because we don't know what's coming up, and that's normal. And yet once we have gone through it, it was always easier and more beautiful than we expected it to be. So I'm going to read you the words of the guide as it came through me, because when I realized what was happening, I actually had the presence to start recording this on my phone. So I have a whole transcript, and a lot of it was very personal, so I'm only reading the parts that are relevant for anyone who likes to hear these words. So we're talking about moving dimensions, and you have to find a meeting point between the two dimensions that forms a bridge. A meeting point between the two dimensions where love just overrides the fear every time. The love just overrides the fear every time, just a little bit, and thus you create a bridge, a stepping stone. Every situation where the love overcomes the fear, just a little bit, is one stepping stone. And then again, just a little bit. So we're not being really asked too much there. And I was told to face the fears of rejection of those you love, and often that it is only fears of rejection. The words were, and I feel this is particularly relevant for these times, Face the rejection because you need to go through this together, because you are one. And when you find that meeting point within your hearts, then you rise upwards, and it's nothing like here. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Those were his words, and I will remind us that many dimensions unfolded on this earth, so it isn't necessarily about leaving this planet at all. Some people have always lived on this planet in lighter realms, with more love, more peace, and more grace. And this is the choice that we're being offered now. I was given an exercise that I don't have time to go into fully, but that was to express your fears with a loved one, because as we know, our loved ones are those that trigger us the most, and of whom we are really the most scared of rejection. And as you express your fears, and this is done in a very conscious manner setting, you bring in your breath and love every time. So the love overrides the fear just a little bit every time. So the love overrides the fear just a little bit every time. This guide reminded me, those words you wrote once, and he was talking about the book. So probably words he wrote, I was just the scribe. You are not moving away from the physical dimension. You are moving through the physical dimension. That's why it feels so uncomfortable, because you've got to get that spirit into the physical. And that's where the breathing comes in. Each breath is a portal. Each breath is a stepping stone, part of a path I was talking about, just each simple breath. So those were his words, that was his guidance. And I notice now the world situation puts us all very much in the necessity to face our fears and to face the rejection of those we love. If we're going to hold it together, if we're going to bring it deeper together than it was ever before. So for people who challenge us the most, to find that meeting point and to rise upwards together. And we can see perhaps with this worldwide test that everything is in tune with the evolution of our planet. There is nothing that happens on this planet that is not part of a curriculum in a way. And we only have to do little steps. But one day we notice that we've crossed the bridge. We are building the bridge. We are walking across the bridge. And we are the bridge. It's as though we are rebirthing this world. We are the midwives. We are the mothers who are giving birth. And we are the newborn that are coming in. So I'm going to share with you one last story. And this one happened in 2017. I was lying on a bed and I was pulled out of my body, and this was, in the way that it happened, a new experience for me. It was as though my arms were heavy sleeves lying on the bed, sleeves of a jacket. And my inner arms, my energy arms, were being pulled out inside those arms, on both sides simultaneously, until the energy of my arms and my body was up around my neck, which felt a bit uncomfortable, and then I was taken out. I wasn't taken out in this dimension where I was rising above my bed and looking down and seeing my physical body. I was taken directly out into another dimension. And that dimension was only space. And if it had any characteristic, there was a very faint golden hue, but that's more of a quality than a color. And in that dimension, I was shown something quite extraordinary, to me anyway. I was shown that the earth is built on mathematics, and this isn't my field at all. But there's a blueprint, a design, that everything is encoded. The whole evolution of Earth is encoded in the creation. And the creative force for this mystery that is our planet and likely our universe is the force of love. And that's interwoven in this tapestry. And I was shown that we've reached a point of evolution where, and the picture I was given was humorous also, spirit is coming into matter. Now this wasn't totally new to me, this was given to me already when I was writing the book. And the picture that was now given to me was it's as though spirit was making love to matter and coming in deeper and deeper than ever before, bringing in more love than ever before, as matter itself is softening, as matter itself is surrendering to allow spirit to come in. And I was shown that that love making between spirit and matter had reached orgasm, but it was unstoppable, and that we're now riding on that wave. And that's why, and this has been happening already in all the build-up towards this, but as the love comes in stronger, everything that is not in tune with that love, as a vibration on this planet is rising in this ecstasy, everything that is not in vibration with that is being pushed to the surface. And in the end, everything is gone. All the stories, all the struggle, all the pain. Love is all that remains. I do have a lot more stories, but in the end, these are all stories. And what matters is what we can bring from that inspiration, from that guidance into our bodies, into our daily lives, how it affects us and the people around us. I've prepared a short list of tips, simply what supported me to develop this relationship. And I'll run through this quickly with you. I could go into more detail, but again, I don't really have time here. As with any relationship you wish to cultivate, we need to start by noticing that the other person, or in this case, presences, are there. It's up to us to open the door. It's up to us to invite them in. They are always here for us. It's when we become present that we may begin to notice them. So, the more I can feel the space around me, and I may be looking at the sky or the sun, that celestial body, and feeling the breeze, the more I allow myself to feel what is around me, what is surrounding us. To be more present, to be more listening, like in any special relationship, to make it a priority in your life. To notice and to be grateful for every little thing that comes. Be attentive to your inner child too, because this may seem an opposition. You have your small, sensitive child part that you are caring for, and then there is this expanded being, this spirit, which you are feeling and receiving guidance from. And that seems to be two different worlds. But it's actually through listening to your inner child, listening to its insecurities and discomforts, and being there with it, opening your heart to compassion. But that compassion is the key that opens the door for the higher love to come through. That love touches you, it softens you, and it flows into your body and to those around you. And you become a bridge, your heart in the middle, open to both worlds, to the human world and to the angelic. I was told one fine day, this is another tip, hold up your human heart, show us how it feels. And it doesn't have to be bright and beautiful. You are embodied here, going through a human experience, and everything you feel is valid. For your own sake, you may not want to wallow in some of the feelings, but we do need to experience them in order to go through them. Ask, and you shall receive. Trust what you hear, or feel, or see. In the beginning, it may be very subtle, but after time, you will start to notice that things come through very clearly. Sometimes words spoken as if somebody was standing next to you. And notice if a voice is inside you. Did that feeling or did that voice come from my mind? Was it in the stream of thoughts, or did it come from the silence behind my mind? Listen to what comes in the stillness. Take care of your inner child, because as that part develops more trust, because you are listening to it, not talking its feelings away, not abandoning it, your whole system relaxes more. And this relaxation is key to opening up and receiving. As we feel safe, we soften. Practice softening our opinions, what we think is our personal viewpoint. We accumulate so many adopted opinions and beliefs and attitudes that are part of our shell, that for a time may serve us, and after time they cramp our style. It's such a relief sometimes to unburden ourselves and to let it all go and to lighten up. Make more space in your life for something else to enter. Do less, be more. One of the things I first practiced when I was hyperactive is taking pauses, sometimes just a few minutes between one activity and the next. And after time, those pauses extended until it became easier and easier to do nothing, perhaps for a whole hour, just to create space. In my mother's last year, when I was with her, she would go to lie down every afternoon, and she would say to me, I'm going to make myself available. So take time to tune in. More stillness and more silence, so that there's less interference in our heads from social media, from worldly matters, from emotional struggles with other people, entertainment and distractions. So you can listen more, so you can hear more. And this listening is very subtle. It's just a matter really of softening. The rest happens from alone. We may be scared of the emptiness, but there is so much fullness in that emptiness. When we experience the emptiness, it is infinite, it's vast, it's eternal. It is who we are at our essence. And it's incredibly peaceful. Self-love and self-nurture. When we glimpse what our body is actually designed for, And again, this is only a glimpse. We have very little idea what our bodies are capable of. We recognize it is a sacred vessel for spirit to enter and to transform the reality on this planet. And knowing this, we may begin to treat it better. Take care what you allow into your body, whether that is food or noise or news or entertainment. Create a nice space for yourself, physically and emotionally. Your DNA responds to what it feels and hears in its environment. That programs you to tense up, to close up, to go into survival mode, or to relax and open and naturally evolve. Notice the music, the sounds, and the people, the atmosphere around you. Does it make you contract, or does it allow you to expand? To feel lighter, make space in your mind, in your heart, and in your body. Eat lighter, food that is fresh and alive. Clean out your vessel, detox it, unburden it. Clear the emotional baggage too. Often that goes hand in hand. One supports the other. And breathe in, spirit. Open your chest and your torso. Stand tall to give your spirit space to enter your body. Align with your expanded self by feeling, by allowing your natural joy. This is who we are. The rest is baggage. Watch your choices, your daily decisions. Little things. Are you acting out of fear or out of trust? Which side within you and outside of you are you feeding with your life energy? What do you emit and what do you attract? We are rewiring ourselves from an old survival mechanism inside us to a place of trust and peace. And in that space of trust and peace, we anchor our expanded being, and it works together with us, and our life changes. I just wanted to give you those quick tips. That's just an overview. Enough to start with, or enough to continue your journey with, to be inspired. Perhaps it resonates, perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps these are just confirmations of something you already know. We are all walking each other home. I will end with one paragraph from my book, which puts it all in a nutshell. And this is the last paragraph of the introduction. It's called A Change of Heart. And you can read the introduction and many chapters on my website for free. And there are some beautiful songs there that I wrote for a friend long ago. And it's all available for you if you wish. And when this change of mind and heart occurs, from resistance to acceptance, from judgment to compassion, and from fear to love, we discover that our freedom lies in trust, transcendence, and celebration. For it is in knowing ourselves to be innocent, seeing that life has always served our evolution, and feeling that the world is our benevolent, loving guide, that we can welcome change and go with the flow. It is in making this very shift in our core beliefs that we transform the vibration on this planet to a new frequency. Thus, through the power of our human hearts, creating a new world. This is our sacred journey.